Talk about a creeper. Jeeper.
Jeepers Creepers. Hey, speaking of which,
We just watched.
we just watched Jeepers Creepers Reborn.
We did. That's the fourth movie in the franchise, and we watched the whole thing.
We actually got through the whole thing barely. It's streaming on Hulu. It was not our usual streaming go-to service.
As Jason mentioned, oh, by the way, we are Cinematic Suffering. We review horror movies. We do not riff track. We do commentary of horror movies and other fun stuff, podcasts, everything horror related. This is your one-stop shop. So you come here for all your horror goodness. And the most recent film that we tackled was Jeepers Creepers Reborn.
Yeah, and if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, and leave a comment below because it always helps with the good old algorithm. But yes, we did delve into the surly mess that is Jeepers Creepers Reborn. You were really anxious to watch this, Clay. I remember you were just messaging me probably day and night. I mean, 24 hours, 7 text, Facebook messages, IG messages, and you're like, we're going to watch Jeepers Creepers Reborn. I've heard so many good things about it. And I say, Clay, this is a bad idea.
No, this is going to be a good movie. I mean, just because the last one, just because the film is built off of the very, very controversial foundation of the very, very problematic director, that doesn't mean, and just because the third one was absolutely horrible, doesn't mean that the fourth one is going to be bad.
Right, because there's been no precedent in the history of horror movies on sequels progressively getting worse, as they've always consistently been better.
That's right.
We can name a few off the hand that consistently get better. How about the Saw series?
Jaws rhymes with Saw.
Jaws 4 being obviously the best of
That's
the
right.
franchise.
Yes.
So that's obviously where we're going here with Jeepers Creepers Reborn. It's probably stand out one of the most bestest, worstest movies I've ever seen in my life.
Well, let's give credit where credit is due. So, like we mentioned, this is the first film in the series that wasn't directed by the horrendous deviant that did the first three. Timo Voronsola directed this inspired masterpiece of horror fiction. And what a masterwork it was, Jason. Voronsola, he also directed Star Wreck, Iron Sky, which is basically Nazis in space, and the sequel to Iron Sky, which came out about 7 years later, which kind of makes you wonder why they chose him. Those movies were all pretty much tongue-in-cheek. They were very winky at the camera. They were pseudo comedies, so I don't know why they chose him to direct a Jeepers Creepers movie.
Yeah, that's a good question because, like you said, the previous director of the Jeepers Creepers franchise is a piece of shit deviant. That it's hard to even go back and rewatch those films because the background of that director. So maybe they were at a point in the producers or whoever released this, was it Screen Media, United Artists or whatever? They were like, we're at the bottom of the barrel. Where else can we go? Let's just find a director. Maybe they put a bunch of names in a hat and
shook it up real good.
And Timo's came out on top, and here we have Reborn.
They probably asked him, do you want to direct this movie? And he'd be like, okay. Oh, well, good enough. Enough.
As long as I don't have to write it. And I can sit back and just let my cinematographer maybe direct it, not me, or because maybe he was like a hands off. I don't know, but what a mess.
Oh, yeah, that was bad. But speaking of the writing credits, do you want to give credit to the writers here who wrote this masterpiece?
Who did write this masterpiece?
It was written by not one but two screenwriters. It was written by Jake Seal and Sean Michael Argo.
Okay, so that's the two they credited. I wonder who any other uncredited writers are on this that tried to punch it up and make a mess, fix the mess that it is.
The creeper himself, the titular creeper himself, had a hand in writing it. I'm sure he just went and scribbled some notes in blood. There's actually a large cast, but like written down in my notes here, I said it was confounding that it had two screenwriters, and I wondered if maybe the reason for that is that they both suffer from narcolepsy, and one would fall asleep, and the other one would have to take over at the keyboard. That one falls asleep, and vice versa.
And what wakes them up is just the clunking of the heads on the desk.
Oh,
oh, it's my turn.
This is so bad, I got concussed. Yeah, it lacked all of the charm. Well, okay, the movie starts off with, you can tell that they got the two of the biggest stars that they could find were Gary Graham, which he's been in a bunch of stuff, but if you remember the TV show for Alienation, do you remember that show?
Mm-hmm.
He starred in that. I enjoyed that show.
I enjoyed the hell of that show. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it way more than the movie it was based on.
I did too.
And so he and his wife, played by none other than Dee Wallace, they're driving down this country road, and I think we both knew right off the bat that the movie was going to be a slog because it's got no tension. It's just these two driving down the road, and we basically recreate the original scene from the original Jeepers Creepers where they're getting harassed by the big scary truck. The truck goes past them. They go past the creeper who's dumping bodies down a big chute.
the body chute that's sticking out of the front yard that everyone can see as they pass by.
That's got to be terrible on the septic system.
I mean, no, we got to think about the logistics of the creeper himself, because first of all, he comes back every 23 years to kill for 23 days, right? Is that how it goes?
I think that's something like that.
He comes back once every 23 years to kill for 23 days, and I guess he kills anybody he comes across and stalks them. But you just got to think of the logistics. Who keeps up the house? His truck is still running after 23 years. He didn't have to replace the carburetor, some spark plugs, put some more gas in it, oil. That would be funny to see the creeper actually doing all that shit. He grows back out of this thing, and he's like, ah, and then he puts on some coveralls, gets out his toolkit, and starts going cranky.
I got to wrench this car every 23 years. It's got mice living in it.
You're replacing the dry rotted tires and all the shit there.
He's finding a family of squirrels and he's just eating them like popcorn shrimp.
He has to run to the DMV and get the specialized license plates that we see.
And they understand him. It's like Star Wars rules where he goes in and you just like, yeah, I told you can't just leave it sitting outside for a decade.
The DMV ladies say, yeah, I've heard this before. All right, just fill out these forms and bring them back to him with a $25 fee.
Click, click, click. We don't stock that pot anymore.
But yeah, it was, I mean, that was the catcher. That was the thing that caught me at the beginning. It was like, oh, it's Dee Wallace, everyone knows her from The Howling and Cujo and Frighteners and a shitload of horror and great 80s movies that, are classics to us. And so I think I think she just needed like a little paycheck. She's like, oh yeah, I'll do it. I don't think she really has. I mean, she's in her 70s. She probably needs some things to go out and lounge by the beach and have some extra money for the pool cabana boys to come by. Which I don't blame her at all. More power to Dee for that.
Oh, if I was in her shoes, I'd have an endless string of those pool boys. More than likely, those grandbabies need tuition money. It's not getting any cheaper as time goes by. So she probably was helping out those grandbabies. But these two are in it, and it's just, the pacing is just terrible. It has zero tension, and it's basically they see the chute, they go up to it, and then they're like, eek, it's stuffed with bodies, and then it cuts into the regular movie. It's like, okay, this is gonna be a rough one.
Yeah, it cuts into, because they don't really establish that this is in the past. This is like 23 years ago from whatever date they're starting at. So I'm not sure. They kind of made it look like it was in the 60s, but then when it comes back to the present time, it's now 2023. So it's
Yeah,
weird how the timeline is going because 23 years from 1960 does not add up to 2023.
yeah, they found the oldest rust bucket of a car too. Like it was one of those boxy, ugly looking 80s, 70s, 80s
It's got
style
the
car.
speedometer that starts way down here, and you just see it go.
Yeah, those push buttons for the radio stations.
Yeah.
I found that to be more interesting than the movie that they were driving through,
that
honestly.
first that first opening scene though is just it reeks of, okay, now we know we're getting to stupid territory because the guy's just like, well, we saw him throw a body, we have to go back and check. No, we don't.
No, man,
No.
do they not? We could find the closest payphone because we're in payphone, time frame. So,
Yeah,
and
or go
then
back to the
dial
nearest
911.
town. Yeah, a dial, go back to the cops, say, hey, I know corpse tubes are commonplace in Texas and Louisiana on the side of the road. If you need to get rid of something quickly, just throw them off into the corpse tube. But someone probably needed to check that wasn't a civilian.
Yeah, that's the only reason he got away with it so long is because you can kill folks in rural Texas for a minute without
Yeah, I
arousing
mean,
suspicion.
they only charge manslaughter and wipe it off your record after 3 years. That's how it works.
I imagine the sheriff coming up to the front door, adjusting his big 10-gallon hat, being like, "Now, creeper, we talked about this. You can't be shoving bodies one after another willy nilly down that chute."
Now, look, I realized that I went over my quota, but look, I can only do 10 a day, and that's ridiculous because, I do at least 30 a day. So what am I going to keep the rest on the side of the road for the garbage to come pick up? No, I had to put them in the corpse tube.
It's like fish in a barrel. These teenagers, they practically killed themselves.
They're driving up to my driveway. I don't have to go out and look for them anymore.
And then I killed them with my weird medieval axe, just chippity chip chop. Oh goodness. Oh, so the next characters that we meet are Laine and what's her boyfriend's name? Goodness, I
Chase.
forget. Chase, Laine and
Yeah.
Chase. And you couldn't have found two people with less chemistry. They they somehow are able to balance being both annoying and boring at the same time. So we meet them. They're driving down the road. It's the classic relationship of skepticism versus superstition. The boyfriend is all into the creeper lore rather, and he goes waffles on about the creeper, and his girlfriend is very pragmatic and skeptical of all this, and it never comes up again. It's just an exposition dump for backstory.
Yeah, it's a true exposition dump in the meaning of the definition. We get to him saying, your scientist friends can't explain everything. And she goes, well, I'm a scientist. I know. And you have scientist friends. Well, I am logical and pragmatic. And I know. But if you see the evidence on the tape, not everything can explain. And it was just beat, pop, 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 just crunch. And I felt I was getting punched in the gut with the exposition.
Could you imagine being in the back seat, like if you're trapped on a road trip with these two, how much you would want to just tumble out of the car onto your face onto the highway?
Hey guys, I just want you to just take a little pass near you see the rest stop that's right there? No, you don't have to stop. Just I know you're going 70 miles an hour, but I just want to let you know that I'm out.
Or the creeper comes up and you're actively choking the other one to death because he just got the other one. He's like, these kids, they kill each other. I don't you're taking all my fun.
And then we get a brief mention of an ancillary character that means nothing at all. Matt, this guy Matt, I think his name is
right.
Matt. And she's like, oh, well, maybe I need to call my friend Matt. And Matt is coming out for some reason in their direction. I guess they're going to the same fest or horror con. He totally looks like a person that would go to one of these horror cons as well. He's got a nice Jaguar. He's dressed really nice. He's very, very flamboyant and immediately killed. And I'm like, what was the point? We didn't even get a kill scene. If there was a kill scene that was bloody and gory, I mean, we did get to see the creeper's head wrap around this dude's face, but
yeah, that's one of my big problems with it is there was nothing kind of elaborated on with the character in the first movie. It was entertaining because you slowly learn that he's this weird creature. Like at the beginning of the movie, he could be anybody. He could just be a guy in an overcoat and a hat. And
Yeah.
then you slowly learn that he's got these weird bat wings on his head.
Yeah.
And then in the second movie, you learn that the dude can fly and replace his own head as needed.
Right.
He just picks and chooses body parts, and that's like, wow, he's some kind of weird composite character. I don't know what I learned about the third one. What I learned from the third movie is that you can be the most horrendous person imaginable, and they won't fire you until your movie sucks and doesn't make money. So that's good. Thanks,
it's
Hollywood. Just
it's a good learning
real,
experience.
yeah, consistent ethics, Hollywood. Good job. And with the fourth one, just nothing. He doesn't. The character himself isn't that interesting. And no disrespect to the guy that played him, but the previous actor did it way better. Frankly, it's kind of like like dude,
Yeah.
Kane Hodder is the best Jason. Then we can have that discussion. That one horror fans love that, but there's just something about the dude's body language, his facial features, his expressions. The original actor, which was played by Gerard Benjamin played him this time, and Jonathan Breck was the guy that played him in the previous movies. I think
Yeah.
did a far better job.
No, I agree. I think Gerard Benjamin, who did it for Reborn, you could tell he's a little shorter.
Yeah,
Um, that's not a real big problem. My problem with this creeper was, for one, he was not in the movie that much.
yeah, it's
I mean,
absent.
he's kind of absent for a lot of it. And then another thing, it felt like he was about to say something. Like, oh no, are we about to hear some Freddy Krueger type, riffs or lines? Because then we may have to just cut it off at this point.
Yeah,
uh,
it's the
there's some
creeper should
points.
talk.
There's some points where this creeper is like wiping off his mouth, and you think he's about to say, "I need more with ketchup, bitch,"
Some zinger.
some zinger, but he doesn't. Luckily, he doesn't do that. But there's these weird characteristics that were being played around with that it just didn't gel with me. I mean, the creature effects were cool at least, but the characterization of the creeper was a little bit to be desired.
Yeah, like I don't know. I found myself kind of looking at his hat, going, that hat doesn't look good. It's supposed to. One would assume that it's a hat made out of human flesh because that's kind of what he crafts all of his gear out of, and it's just.
There's a funny part near the end where they're fighting, and I don't know if you caught it in our watch through, but the hat gets knocked off his head, and it looks comically like that wasn't supposed to happen.
Just keep it rolling.
Just keep it rolling, kind of thing. And then I think another scene it shows him actually picking the hat up, but at the time it was just like bonk, the hat just goes floppity whippity way wobbly away,
Rolls down the hallway. I mean, it's
catches the little wind, keeps the door opens for it, rolls right out into the grave.
There's probably outtakes where the actor is trying to talk through those monster trees, like, you want to do it again? I got my hat.
Yeah, I mean, we could do that, or just break for lunch and
Like, eyeballing those bagels hard. That's all I care about is that deli tray's looking mighty fine. Yeah, this movie was a turd. It was the characters. It was plentiful characters, and they were all boring and pointless, and you couldn't connect with any of them. And the only joy that I felt when one of them was dispatched was that we're one person closer to the credits. Like, we're almost done.
right,
Everybody
yeah.
gets killed. And
No,
as you mentioned, just zero creative kills. There's no gore. It's just it's just a slog to get through, frankly.
right. And there was the main reason for the characters to be in this area anyways was this supposed like kind of like mix between a juggalo and creep con fest that was happening. And we get to see a bunch of unusual characters cosplaying, mostly as clowns for some reason. That's what I think. That's where you came up with like, oh, this is like a juggalo horror convention.
It would have been more interesting if it was actually gathering of the juggalos, because then at least you'd get to see some unhoused people giving each other syphilis or something.
And this fest, it's really one of the things I found weird was that they go up to a booth that you throw axes and you throw shurikens and all this stuff at a dummy, and the carny who comes out, he's like, y'all ever heard of the creeper? And the guy, the Chase, the boyfriend, goes, you've heard of the creeper? I can't believe you've heard of the creeper. Oh, what else do you know about the creeper? It's like, what do you mean you can't believe he hasn't heard of the creeper? He lives in the fucking area where this creepers the legend takes place. That's their whole gig. It's like going through Arizona where you always see the signs for like 250 miles along the I-10 where it says visit the black spot. This is the black spot, the evil, the thing from the desert. You're about to approach it 100 miles out, visit the black spot. And then you get there, and then someone says, oh, do you want to go look at the black spot? And you're like, you know about the black spot?
Yeah.
How do you know about the black spot?
It's like going up into the Appalachian area and not hearing some cracked out hillbilly tell you all about Bigfoot or the swamp monkey or whatever the local lore
They
is.
filmed Deliverance around here, and Burt Reynolds came up and gave me a wedgie back then.
I tell you, he's a nice guy. I've got a Deliverance themed restaurant, which seems really inviting over here.
But yeah, that was another like kind of thing about it. There seemed like some people didn't know about it, and like, how do you not know about all this stuff? But maybe you just kind of like sorry, I thought I heard something over there.
It's a creeper.
There's but just little nitpicks I know like that, but you can nitpick, but when you're nickel and diming us the entire time, and you got $100 in your hand of nickels and dimes, you got a legitimate fucking concern.
Well, it's just like it seems like it was a film just made out of negatives. It was just composed completely of negatives. It's all about what's absent. That is what strikes me. It's absent of any compelling characters. You can't get into any of them. The dialogue is not interesting. There's no imaginative kills, and there's no expansion of the creeper lore. There's nothing. It's just got nothing. It's a big collective of nothings. The cinematography it looked like his other movies, like the director's other movies, but that doesn't work for this movie. Like that the overly fake green screen look works for Nazis in space because it adds to the intentional camp of all of it. But this movie's not supposed to be intentionally campy. So it just looks fake, and that's another thing that takes you right out of a movie that you weren't invested in to begin with.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're exactly right. And as we're progressing along with the story, even the scenes of the couple in the car, Chase and Laine, it looks like a green screen. It looks like they're just in a car. They got a green screen back then. They just superimposed an image of moving terrain, and it was painfully obvious. And now I know there's some things with HD there where things look a little unreal, because especially if you grew up like we did with tube, analog television, when we first started seeing on HD and on flat screens, it kind of had a odd look to us.
Yeah.
But this was even odder, if that's even a word. I'm not talking about the damn animal. I'm talking about just being extremely weird to look at and disassociating. And it takes you kind of out of the movie a little bit. There's a specific scene near the end. It's at the climax. It's where they're on the roof, and they're the two guys are trying to get this lightning rod off the roof. They're going to throw it down onto the creeper as he comes out of the house. The creeper's being lured out of the house by the heroine, and they, for some reason, they get it in their idea that they're just going to go up on top of the roof and get a weather vane and then throw it on top of them.
That'll work.
Like, I mean, that seems like something that wouldn't be a 1 in 100 chance of actually hitting anything on the way down, but
it just goes plunk.
Well, we tried, and he grabs the baby and takes off. But yeah, but you could see the CGI as they throw it. It cuts across the screen and goes it and then goes like this. It goes it wobbles and goes down. So obviously someone was manipulating the graphic. And I'll probably show it in one of the clips that we'll show.
Whoops! I didn't have this, like the timeline right. The tween, is not right. Oh well,
these are little technical things that eventually do bring you out, and you can't get close to any of the characters. Well, not that you could get close to any of the characters, but if it was filmed a little more realistically and didn't have these little weird CGI touches, it might have been,
Well,
you know,
it's
not an F, but maybe an F plus.
well, and it's frustrating because it's like it was the horror community really clamoring for another Jeepers Creepers movie. Like anyone that's got even minuscule amount of ethics is at least a little bit conflicted about these movies. The
Of
initial
course.
ones, like you can't not know what happened. We're not going to discuss the specific crimes here because they're revolting, and we don't want to get like slapped with a whatever wrist slap that YouTube would give us for mentioning it out loud. But it's awful. The guy didn't do any real time for it, and then when they get another director, it's like it sucks as bad as the third one did. We don't want. I don't think that the horror community really wants another Jeepers Creepers movie that bad. They could probably get more excited about a new Jason or a new Freddy, which we're not because they're going to screw that up too. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I just can't wait for the next Nightmare on Elm Street reboot that you're going to totally screw up, or the next Jason movie that's not going to be any good.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I certainly wasn't. I certainly wasn't clamoring for a new Jeepers Creepers. Like I mentioned, I may have mentioned before, Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2 were fine with me. I never saw 3, but
Not missing anything.
yeah, and I thought 1 and 2 were fine. Were they the greatest? No. But at the same time, they're enjoyable to watch, and they had some personality to them. And they had somewhat of a plot.
Yeah. There was, and they didn't spoon feed you what the creeper was. There was enough, there was enough mystery around the character to make that appealing. But the more you learned about him, the more unsettling and kind of gross he was. Just the other movies, the first two movies were just paced so well. Like you saw the truck was menacing, the big scary truck, and they were just entertaining movies. This one, if you're not going to make it good, don't make it. Like it's another one of these horror movies that just stank of no love and no effort. And it just drives me nuts when I see a movie like that. You don't need quantity over quality. Because like especially the older I get, the more time is the big currency, and I just get more and more angry when people waste mine. And this, believe me, Jeepers Creepers Reborn is not a good use of an hour and a half of your time, unless you watch our riff and laugh along with us as we crap wise about it.
Yeah, for sure, man. We had a good time on. I think we had a good time riffing on this, and I think we were pretty fucking harsh with it. So if you do watch along, take everything with a grain of salt because we did not pull any punches.
No, not this time.
I think the best part of our riff was during the end credit scene when we were basically rewriting it and we were consulting AI and giving our own ideas on what a good Jeepers Creepers. So, if anything, listen to that last part.
Yeah, we get a couple good zingers in, I thought.
Yeah. No, it was definitely a rough watch. I'm glad I got to watch it with my partner in crime here.
That's right.
But that's about it for Jeepers Creepers Reborn. Unless there's anything you wanted to add, I know you had quite a bit.
It sucked.
It sucked. So I think on the list of movies we've watched so far, let us see.
Where does it rate in the suckometer?
The suckometer from me is so already at the bottom of the list was Children of the Corn. I'm going to leave it at the bottom. Right. Reborn sucked, so I'm going to put Reborn above that, and then Leave is above that. So Leave keeps getting pushed up. Eventually it's going to wind up in the top 10 eventually.
That's the thing. If you're a dumb kid, you just got to know where the dumber kids in the class are so that you can be pushed up the bell curve a little bit. I don't know. That's a compelling question. Was it as bad or worse than Children of the Corn? Yeah, Children of the Corn was pretty damn bad. So yeah, those two can have a slap fight on who gets to win for the worst cinematic suffering movie that we've watched so far.
I'm very curious, though, to see what the 5-star reviews of Jeepers Creepers Reborn are. So let's just take a gander at them. There's approximately 7,800 plus reviews on it on Amazon coming. I guess it's fed through. Yeah, it's on Amazon. So let's go ahead and take a look at these details. Let's
Hell,
read
I
all
saw
these.
a copy at Walmart, a physical copy.
So it's got a 35% 5-star rating. It's got a total of 3 out of 5 stars on IMDb.
Unacceptable.
Can you believe this?
That'd be fun. You see it. It's signed by Shmimo Schmorens Schlola. Like he doesn't even change his name that much.
So here's just a sampling of the 5 stars. Headline: nice. Good sequel. 5 stars. Next one: great. The summary: love it. 5 stars. Roger writes, just as his headline, movie. 5 stars, can't go wrong. If a fan, I'm sure he meant I'm a fan. 5 stars. CC writes, this was an okay movie in their headline, and the movie was okay in their actual. CC fucking regular Roger Ebert over here.
Yeah, I know.
David writes, 5 stars, good horror film. It's a keeper cripper movie.
Nice. Yeah, that's
great. So these are all our 5-star geniuses who rated this.
No ways a lot of English as a second language people were involved in these totally real reviews.
No one got paid at all to write from some foreign country to write any of these reviews.
No.
So there's just a nice little sampling of it. I may do hey, what about this? Maybe I just start doing, or we both start doing like fireside chats of the movies we watch. And just reading 5-star reviews, maybe I'll sit in a comfy bathrobe with a cigar and like a bottle or like a glass of brandy, and then start reading 5-star reviews of Jeepers Creepers Reborn.
Oh yes, I think that'd be great. I love that idea. We need to jot that one down. Yeah,
I need to do that. But that's it. Jeepers Creepers Reborn, total horrible piece of crap. I'm trying.
No bueno.
No bueno. And so that's about it. Do we have anything else we need to talk about? Do we need to push?
Well, just keep your eyes peeled on the channel, y'all. We're always coming up with new content. Once in a while, as a treat to you, the viewer, we actually sit down and write scripted commentary for the special movies. We've done that for Death Metal, and we've done that for the film Devil's Island. Those were a lot of fun, so you should definitely check those out. You can get them synced with the actual movie and watch along. But throw us a comment, throw us a like. Did you watch Jeepers Creepers Reborn? Were we too harsh on it? What do you think that we should review next? Just throw a comment down there and let us know.
Yeah, it's actually pretty awesome. Yeah, I'd like to hear everyone else's comments on Jeepers Creepers Reborn. But I guess that is about it. I keep thinking we need to come up with some kind of catchy outro jingle or catchphrase.
So, you don't suffer cinematically. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very short on wit when it comes to those punchy like ad reads.
We're gonna work on that in the meantime. This will probably take months, if not years, to eventually come up with something. But please take care. Get her done. you might be a fan of horror movies if you watch trashy horror movies. Thanks everyone. Cinematic Suffering. I'm Jason.
I'm Clay.
And we out.
We out of here. Thanks, y'all.